Hey guys, tonight we peel back the glow of your screen and step into the uncomfortable hum beneath it. The one you try to outscroll, outwork, outrun. Your coffee goes cold too fast, your mind jumps tabs without asking, and you still feel like you're 10 minutes behind the life you should be living. You probably won't survive this, existentially, I mean, but that's okay. Most of us don't make it past the illusion phase anyway. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing who else is wide awake, halfway between overthinking and surrender. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up already tired, not from sleep, though sure, let's blame the weird dreams where your teeth fall out or your boss turns into a raccoon, but from something deeper. It's that slow drip ache of not enough. Not enough money, not enough meaning, not enough you, so you keep moving as if motion equals salvation. But it doesn't. It just wears your shoes down faster. This quiet dissatisfaction, Buddhism has a name for it, dukkha, the first noble truth. Life is suffering. Not dramatic flames and fury kind, more like subtle static, buzzing in the background, refusing to shut up. Dukkha isn't about constant misery, it's that weird sensation that things almost line up, but never quite click. That your vacation was great, but now it's over. That your dream job has meetings. That love can feel like work. And yet, you were never told this was the standard setting. You were sold the fantasy that happiness is the norm and suffering is a bug. But what if it's the other way around? What if the ache is not a mistake, but the very signal that life is happening, raw and real? The Buddha wasn't born enlightened. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, and he had it all: palace, riches, servants. The ancient version of Spotify probably involved flutes and birds. His dad tried shielding him from anything unpleasant. No sickness, no death, just permanent spring break. But then, plot twist, Siddhartha sneaks out and sees the real world. An old man, a sick man, and a corpse. And suddenly the whole influency, luxury-filtered life illusion crumbles. He realizes no amount of pleasure stops pain from showing up. Historians still argue whether these four passing sights were symbolic constructs or real encounters. But either way, they triggered a personal system crash. So Siddhartha goes full unplug, leaves his wealth, shaves his head, sleeps under trees, eats very little. Spoiler boy, he did not recommend that long term. But still, the ache doesn't leave. Only when he stops struggling against suffering, when he sits under the Bodhi tree and just watches the ache without fighting it, does he awaken. Not because the pain went away, but because he understood it. Here's the fringe detail. Some early Buddhist texts describe the moment of enlightenment as accompanied by an earthquake, like the earth itself hiccuped when someone finally got it. Was it real? Historians shrug. But the metaphor lands: when your inner world shifts, the outer one wobbles. You, though? You mostly wobble alone. You refresh your inbox, chew your lip, scroll through someone else's curated life, and feel behind. But what if that feeling isn't personal failure? What if it's the human condition whispering, hey, there's more than this treadmill? Modern life is just ancient restlessness with better branding. You're still trying to escape discomfort, now with apps and subscriptions. But dukkha isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a teacher to sit beside. Like a grumpy cat that insists on sleeping on your chest. Unwanted, warm, immovable. That email you dread? Dukkha. That friendship where you talk but never feel heard? Dukkha. That itch to buy something shiny when your soul feels dull? Also dukkha. You don't get rid of it by pretending it's not there. You just begin to notice. Every time it shows up, it's pointing out where you're gripping too tightly, resisting too hard, or expecting permanence in a world built on change. In ancient Tibet, monks would meditate with a human skull in front of them. Not to be creepy, but to stay honest. Look, it said, this ends. And weirdly, that makes each breath feel more sacred, not less. You stop wasting time chasing perfect. You start living fully, even in the mess. You're not broken for feeling empty. You're just misinformed. You were told life is a highlight reel, but it's more like an improv show, unrehearsed, sometimes hilarious, mostly weird. So here's your new spiritual cheat code. Suffering is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're alive. Everyone you admire, Buddha, Marie Curie, your friend who somehow keeps plants alive, faced it. The goal isn't to avoid pain. The goal is to stop letting it blindfold you. And yes, you can still cry at commercials or feel weirdly jealous of someone's well-lit bookshelf. You're human. Buddhism doesn't want you to be a robot. It wants you to see me, to catch your mind in the act of spiraling, to soften around your pain instead of armoring up. Because when you sit quietly, the suffering speaks. And under its scratchy voice, there's clarity. Under the ache, there's softness. And under all that buzzing static, there's you. You want things. Of course you do. You want better sleep, fewer pop-up ads, and maybe just once for someone to reply on my way and actually mean it. But wanting isn't the problem. Craving is. That tight, hot, electric need that coils in your gut like a phone on 2%, that's the real mischief maker. Craving shows up in sleek packaging now. It looks like self-improvement, hustle, glow-up culture. But underneath, it's the same old ancient wiring. The Buddha called it tanha, which means thirst. Not hydration thirst, soul thirst. That unscratchable, irrational, if I just had this, I'd finally be okay thirst. And you chase it through jobs, dates, ice cream, deadlines. Your entire personality can shape itself around a rotating carousel of cravings, all promising relief and delivering, well, mostly credit card debt and neck tension. Here's the historical flavor. After leaving his palace and trying a starvation as a spiritual cleanse, don't recommend, Siddhartha realized that extreme deprivation didn't help either. So he coined the middle way, not too much, not too little, just enough to not lose your mind or your liver. That's the uncomfortable truth. Buddhism doesn't say never enjoy life. It just wants you to stop clinging to enjoyment like a lifeline in a sea of meaninglessness. Craving turns "I like this" into "I can't live without this." And that shift, that's where suffering gets its oxygen. Craving's clever. It doesn't announce itself like a villain. It whispers. Just one more episode. Just one more refresh. If I had what they have, maybe I'd feel full. But that hunger doesn't go away. It just changes costumes. It's the influencer you keep following even though you know they face-tune their cereal. Fun tidbit. In some early Buddhist tales, Mara, the embodiment of temptation, tried to derail the Buddha not with demons, but with seductive visions and philosophical debates. Mara wasn't a monster, he was marketing. Historians still argue whether Mara was ever meant to be literal or symbolic, but honestly, does it matter? We all have our own Mara. Maybe yours is named Amazon Prime. You want happiness? Of course, but you've been trained to outsource it. You click buy now, hoping to delete loneliness. You chase followers like they'll stitch the hole in your chest. You say yes when you mean no, because maybe this time someone will love the version of you that's always agreeable. Craving isn't just about stuff. It's about identity. You crave being seen, being admired, being enough. And the more you reach, the more it slips, like trying to hold fog. But here's the kicker. The craving doesn't stop when you get what you want. That relief, it's brief. Then the mind moves the goalpost. Okay, now I need a better apartment. Okay, now I need clearer skin. Okay, now I need them to love me back. Remember that time you wanted something so badly and then got bored of it a week later? Exactly. And craving doesn't only point forward. Sometimes it clings backward. Nostalgia, regret, that what-if loop that replays the one text you never sent or the version of you that didn't mess up that one thing. The mind doesn't care which direction it chases as long as it's running. In Buddhist iconography, the wheel of life often shows beings tormented by craving, grasping at things just out of reach. One depiction includes a hungry ghost with a throat like a needle and a stomach the size of a house, always starving, never satisfied. Sound familiar? You're not doomed to live like that, but you do have to see it. You start by noticing what you chase, and more importantly, wait, huh? Not in a shamey way, just curious, like, huh, I said I needed this new hoodie, but maybe I just wanted comfort. Or, interesting, I re-downloaded that dating app again after my boss criticized me. Hmm. You learn to sit with the craving without feeding it, like watching a fire without throwing logs on it. And sure, the mind gets antsy. It yells, but if we don't get what we want, who even are we? But here's the wild thing. Underneath the craving is calm. Always. You just never give it time to rise. In Japan, the Zen practice of shikantaza, just sitting, literally involves doing nothing but breathing and being. No goals, no visualizations. Just you, your breath, and whatever shows up in your mind. The practice is boring and profound. And according to some monks, kind of hilarious once you realize how quickly your brain begs for distraction. Because craving is a distraction from the present moment, the now and all its weird textures, the feel of your socks, the sound of your fridge, the ache behind your eyes. It's all here, and none of it requires more stuff. So tonight, if you feel that pull, that itch for something you can't quite name, don't rush to fix it. Sit beside it, offer it tea, ask it questions. You're allowed to want things. Just don't let your wants drive the car while blindfolded. Craving says, if you had this, you'd finally be okay. Wisdom says, you're already okay, you just forgot. You repeat yourself. Don't take it personally. We all do. You circle the same worries, date the same archetype, in a different shirt, say, this is the year I finally, like it's a spell that will break the curse. But it doesn't. And here you are again, trying to figure out how Monday already happened. This isn't failure. This is samsara, the ancient concept of wandering, cycling, being reborn not just across lifetimes, though Buddhism has plenty to say about that, but within this one life, over and over. You wake up, caffeinate, rush, scroll, regret, sleep, and reboot. Different screens, same loop. Modern life didn't kill spirituality, it just rebranded it. Instead of reincarnating through lifetimes, you reincarnate through versions of yourself. The overachiever, the people pleaser, the ghoster, the one who's really into journaling now. You try on identities like outfits, hoping one will finally stick. Historically, samsara was seen as the cosmic wheel of birth, death, and rebirth. 6 realms, gods at the boom, hell beings at the bottom, humans stuck somewhere in the middle, confused, hormonal, overthinking everything. Scholars still debate whether these realms were meant literally or metaphorically, but in a world where your inbox feels like a personal hell realm, metaphor might be more accurate. You cycle not because you're cursed, but because your mind is. Not haunted, just patterned. You get hurt, so you protect. You get praised, so you chase approval. You fail, so you avoid risk. And boom, you're spinning again. Samsara isn't somewhere out there. It's in your nervous system. It's your craving, fear, and denial doing donuts in the parking lot of your potential. There's a Tibetan phrase that roughly translates to, if you don't break the cycle breaks you. And look, that sounds dramatic, but it's also kind of accurate. Think about how many times you've promised yourself change. Think about how long you've felt stuck. Quirky detour. Some Buddhist traditions believe that even gods, yes, actual divine beings, are still trapped in samsara. They might live for thousands of years and have the ultimate cosmic Wi-Fi, but they still suffer because nothing lasts. Even bliss decays. Imagine enlightenment with a ticking clock. You've felt it too. That come down after the promotion. That weird emptiness after the perfect date. That tiny existential crisis after cleaning your whole apartment. Now what? Is samsara in action. You break the cycle not by running faster, but by pausing, watching, noticing the moment your brain says, let's repeat the thing that didn't work last time, but faster and with more anxiety. You breathe, you soften, you say, not this time, but let's not romanticize it. Breaking your personal samsara feels like withdrawal. It feels like quitting a bad habit your ego loves. It feels like standing naked in a room full of your own thoughts, while your phone dies and you realize you've never really met yourself sober. Remember the Buddha story? He wasn't trying to be trendy. He just sat, for days, under a tree, battling not monsters, but his own inner noise. Doubt, fear, craving, pride. Mara threw the whole buffet at him, and the Buddha just watched. Didn't fight, didn't flinch, just stayed still. That's how you exit the loop. You don't outrun it, you outsee it. You can start with one small samsara loop. Maybe the way you rush through your mornings like you're late for your own life. Or how you always text your ex when Mercury's in retrograde. Or how you sign up for things out of guilt and then cancel because you're exhausted. Watch the cycle. Say its name. It loses power when you call it out. Here's the part where I procrastinate, then panic. Cute. In some monasteries, monks are taught to walk in slow circles, barefoot, eyes slightly lowered. Not because they induce blisters, but to feel each step fully, to break the autopilot loop, to remember that movement doesn't mean progress. Historians still argue whether this slow-walking practice evolved from ritual prayer or practical training for meditative focus. Either way, it's the opposite of your frantic pace. It's choosing depth over momentum, presence over productivity. You get to do the same. Maybe not in robes, but in micro moments. Sip your coffee like it's sacred. Notice the sound your door makes when it clicks shut. Look people in the eye long enough to see they're tired too. Samsara loses strength when you stay awake. Not hyper-aware, just softly conscious. Like noticing the sun on your skin instead of analyzing UV ratings. Like hearing a child laugh and letting it echo for one extra breath before you move on. And here's the secret. You will repeat yourself. That's okay. Even seasoned monks have loops. The goal isn't to become flawless, it's to become familiar. To recognize your patterns with such clarity that you can laugh at them. Oh, hey, emotional whiplash. Didn't see you there. Every time you catch yourself mid-loop and choose not to follow the script, that's a crack in the wheel. That's a breath of freedom. That's the path showing up under your feet without GPS. And maybe that's all liberation really is. Not flying away from your problems, but walking through them with your eyes open. Your mind is a racetrack, but instead of laps, it runs reruns. You think about breakfast while brushing your teeth, worry about the meeting while eating your toast, and replay a 10-second conversation from yesterday for, let's be honest, no reason. Welcome to the default human experience, anywhere but here. And that's where mindfulness enters, not as some airy mantra or glittery app background, but as a sharp, soft tool, a pocket lantern in the warehouse of your distractions. It doesn't ask you to fix anything. It just says, hey, are you actually here right now? Buddhists call it sati, often translated as mindfulness, but the deeper flavor is remembering. Not in the nostalgic sense, but in the remember to be present kind. Like remembering your breath is still happening, even while doom scrolling. Like remembering you are, in fact, not your calendar. Historically, the Buddha emphasized mindfulness as one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. Not optional, not a side quest. Core requirement, but not flashy. It's not levitating or chanting. It's noticing your feet on the ground and your heart in your chest. Radical, right? And here's the ironic joke. You already know how to be mindful. You've just forgotten how to stay there. Think of when you hold a newborn, or sip something too hot, or sit under stars. For a second, everything stops. You're in it. But then, ding, notification. Back to the mind maze. Scholars still argue whether mindfulness in early texts was originally intended as a moment-to-moment awareness, or a broader spiritual orientation toward truth. But either way, it wasn't casual. It was rebellion. Against distraction, against sleepwalking, against being a ghost in your own life. Now fast forward to you sitting on your couch with 6 tabs open, none of which you want to read. You feel that tug to do something productive, but your brain is fried and your soul wants to live in a moss-covered hut for 6 months. This is where mindfulness saves you, not by fixing the situation, but by unfreezing you within it. You inhale, deep and real, and suddenly you're back. Not back in control, back in awareness. And awareness is power. Not the kind that dominates, the kind that liberates. Let's get quirky for a second. In certain Thai forest monasteries, Some monks walk barefoot across gravel paths with their eyes slightly open, focusing only on each step, each breath. One step, one inhale, one awareness. Not because they're dramatic, but because each micro moment is a universe. When was the last time you felt a single breath fully? Not as a thing to do right, but as an invitation. Feel the air enter like a guest. Stay, leave, repeat. Suddenly you're not in next week's disaster fantasy. You're here, you've landed. Mindfulness isn't always peaceful, by the way. Sometimes it reveals the junk drawer of your psyche, all the bitterness, the ego, the weird longing for closure you'll never get. And you'll want to bolt, but don't. Sit, watch. Your job is to witness, not edit. You might discover how much tension lives in your jaw, or how you judge strangers on the street like it's an Olympic sport, or how much you crave validation, even in your meditation. That's not failure, that's clarity. Here's the historical fun bit. Zen master Hakuin in the 18th century Japan once described enlightenment as like swallowing a red-hot iron ball that you can't spit out. Mindfulness is sometimes that, raw, inconvenient truth sitting in your throat. But it's also what burns away illusion. You start small, washing a dish with both hands and all five senses. Hearing your name said with kindness. Noticing when your body says no before your mouth says yes. These moments compound. They whisper, you exist, right now, right here. Isn't that wild? And sure, your brain will rebel. It'll itch for a dopamine hit, for something to control, for something to IA. But mindfulness isn't passive. It's a full contact sport with your attention. Every time you bring your mind back from its spiral, you build muscle. Not six-pack abs, six-pack presence. There's a reason so many traditions anchor mindfulness in the body. Your mind lies. Your breath doesn't. Your body doesn't care about your plans. It cares that you haven't stretched in 8 hours and keep clenching your shoulders like someone just insulted your playlist. In one Buddhist exercise, practitioners are taught to label thoughts as they arise. Planning, judging, remembering, craving. No shame, just gentle name tags like, this is anxiety doing cosplay as logic again. And when you notice, you pause. That's the gap, the golden space, the place where you could react, but don't, where you could judge, but smile instead. That's mindfulness in action. Not flashy, not loud, but transformative. Historians still debate whether the Buddha taught formal breath meditation in the modern sense or emphasized open presence. But the breath has always been a sacred doorway. It's portable, it's free, it's now. So tonight, maybe you just feel one breath fully, in, out. No fixing, no goals. Let the present moment stretch out like a cat in a sunbeam. You don't need incense or apps or a Himalayan view. You just need willingness, curiosity, and a little rebellion. Because in a world monetized on your distraction, attention is a spiritual act. Presence is protest. And mindfulness? Mindfulness is how you remember you were never missing. You just weren't looking. You expect karma to move fast, like Amazon Prime fast. You want to send out good vibes in the morning and get a parking spot by noon. But karma's more patient than you, older than you, possibly sassier than you. And it doesn't do express delivery. You snap at someone. You feel bad. You donate $5 to a charity, hoping the universe doesn't notice your sarcasm earlier. But karma isn't a vending machine. It's more like gravity, slow, consistent, and completely uninterested in your excuses. The Sanskrit root of karma means action, not punishment, not reward, just cause and effect. You move, the world moves with you. You think, speak, act, and all of it leaves a trail like footprints in wet grass, not visible right away, but give it time. You'll see. Historically, early Buddhist texts describe karma as a law of moral causation, subtle but inescapable. And yet, scholars still argue whether karma was meant to explain cosmic justice across lifetimes or simply serve as a metaphor for behavioral consequences in this life. Either way, the message remains. Everything echoes. But karma doesn't just count your obvious actions. It clocks your intentions. That smug, helpful comment, registered. That fake laugh at a joke you hated, also noted. Not because the universe is petty, but because you're sculpting your future with every mental brushstroke. In modern terms, karma is that awkward feedback loop where your vibe becomes your experience. You rush around, rush around, stressed and irritable, and suddenly the world seems full of rude people. Not because it changed, but because you're tuning the dial. Here's a fringe anecdote for you. In some Burmese monasteries, monks are taught to reflect on karma by sitting in total silence for 24 hours after any major action, especially a transgression. Not us as punishment, as digestion, because some consequences take time to unravel. You can't rush insight. You, on the other hand, live in a culture of metrics, clicks, likes, engagement, optimization. You want karma to behave like your analytics dashboard. But karma isn't a number, it's a mirror, and it reflects you eventually, not instantly. Remember that time you lied to avoid hurting someone's feelings and then spent 2 weeks having anxiety dreams? Karma, not punishment, just the ripples of your own mind echoing back. And it works in beautiful ways too. You say something kind and forget it, but someone carries that moment for years. You hold a door, smile at a cashier, reply with grace instead of snark, and boom, you've tilted someone's entire day without knowing. But here's the sneaky part. If you do it expecting a result, it distorts the action. Karma reads your fine print. You're not here to earn spiritual brownie points. You're here to become aware that your smallest choices shape who you're becoming. In a famous Jataka tale, Stories of the Buddhist Past Lives, he once gave his last morsel of food to a hungry tiger, choosing selflessness even at great cost. Now, historians still argue whether these tales are myth, moral lesson, or literal reincarnation biography, but their point is timeless. Deep generosity echoes far beyond the moment. And generosity isn't just about giving things. It's how you speak, how you withhold judgment, how you show up without checking your watch. Karma is also internal. You plant seeds in your own mind with every thought. You obsess about failure long enough, your brain starts building a museum of proof. You fixate on beauty in small things, your world begins to glimmer. It's not magic. It's mechanics, neural pathways, behavior loops. Karma isn't waiting to punish you. It's inviting you to participate consciously. There's a reason why mindfulness and karma go hand in hand, because noticing what you're about to say gives you the microsecond to choose, because seeing your own patterns lets you rewire them, because being awake to the now keeps you from sleepwalking into the next bad habit. Imagine karma not as cosmic retribution, but as personal architecture. You're building a house you'll have to live in, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Would you rather it be cozy and full of books or creaky with resentment and half-finished IKEA furniture? And yes, there are moments that feel unfair. You've done your best, and life still kicks you in the metaphorical shin. Karma isn't a fairness guarantee, it's an opportunity generator. Even the pain is a seed. Sometimes the worst experiences crack you open enough to finally grow roots. Weird detail. Some Zen schools hold that karma can be burned through intense meditation. Like old karmic imprints get roasted in the fire of awareness. Is it literal? Maybe. Is it poetic? Absolutely. Either way, the message is the same. Awareness changes everything. So tonight, think of karma less as cosmic debt and more like planting flowers in a garden you don't control. You may not see them bloom, but someone will. Maybe even you, years from now, in a moment that feels like grace but is actually just the harvest of your earlier care. And if nothing else, remember this. You're not being watched. You're being shaped. And you hold the chisel. You think you're a fixed point, a solid or a solid me who likes online oat milk, dislikes confrontation, and occasionally has an existential meltdown at 2:47 a.m. But if you pay attention, really pay attention, you'll notice something squirming beneath the surface. A flickering. You shift. You contradict yourself. You forget why you walked into the kitchen. This idea of a singular, stable you, Buddhism politely smiles and calls bluff. At the heart of its teachings is anatta, the doctrine of no self. Not to be dramatic, but you're not who you think you are. And that's not an insult. It's a liberation disguised as an identity crisis. You wake up feeling one way. By lunchtime, you're someone else entirely. Hyped, annoyed, dreamy, hungry, lonely, powerful. If your self was so solid, how could it shapeshift with a song lyric or a missed call? Historically, the Buddha refused to define the self. He didn't say you don't exist. He just said maybe ask which self you're referring to. The one who wanted revenge or the one who wants peace? Scholars still argue whether the Buddha meant literal non-existence or simply a dismantling of the ego's illusions. But either way, the core message is clear. Clinging to identity causes suffering. You are not your thoughts. They arise and pass. You are not your body. It ages and changes and occasionally betrays you with mystery knee pain. You are not even your memories. Studies show they rewrite themselves every time you recall them. Wild, right? So what's left? Experience, awareness, noticing the movie but not being the lead actor, watching the storm without thinking you are the storm. Here's a fringe story to stir the soup. In ancient India, a monk was once asked what remains after all attachments dissolve. He held up an empty bowl and said, "This." Not empty as in void, empty as in spacious, open, ready. But your modern life doesn't like emptiness. It panics. So it fills you with brands and categories. Myers-Briggs letters, Spotify Wrapped, horoscope memes. And hey, those can be fun, but none of them contain the full blueprint of you. They're just stickers on a window. What you call I is a collage, a soup of impressions, habits, and stories you've told yourself. I'm bad at confrontation, okay? Or maybe your family punished honesty. I'm not creative. Or maybe your third grade teacher didn't like dragons. When you start to see the cracks in identity, something magical happens. You become fluid, less defensive, less addicted to being right. You stop trying to protect a castle that was never really built in the first place. And yet, you still exist. You still love, still hope, still cry at commercials where dogs find their way home. So who's doing all that? Think of the self not as a noun, but a verb. You're not a thing, you're an event. A symphony of processes happening in harmony and sometimes dissonance. Buddhism compares it to a chariot. No single part is the chariot, yet together the parts make one. In meditation, this becomes painfully clear. One moment you're focused. The next, you're mentally arguing with a stranger who looked at you funny in 2016. Your mind reboots itself constantly. You're not steering a car, you are the traffic. And here's the gentle news flash. When you stop defending your identity, you suffer less. Insults hit less hard. Praise doesn't inflate you like a balloon. You ride the waves instead of trying to dam the ocean. In some Zen monasteries, novice monks spend days doing menial tasks, sweeping, cooking, scrubbing with full attention. Not to punish them, but to unhook the ego from its I'm special narrative. Historians still debate whether these routines were designed for humility or simply practical upkeep. But either way, they produce the same fruit, ego reduction through action. You can do that too. Let yourself dissolve into the task, not as a performance, as a disappearing. Wash dishes like no one's watching. Walk like it matters how your foot kisses the ground. Listen like you're not waiting to reply. And when your ego flares up, when someone critiques you and you feel your entire personality bristle like an angry cat, pause. Ask, what exactly am I protecting? You'll find it's usually an idea, a role, a story, one that doesn't need defending anymore. Does this mean you have to abandon your personality and float away like incense smoke? Nah. Keep your quirks. Keep your favorite hoodie and your irrational dislike of cilantro. Just stop thinking those things are you in capital letters. You are the space those things arise in. You're the canvas, not the paint. You're the scum, not the clouds. So tonight, let the idea of yourself soften. Let the tension of identity loosen like a shoelace. You don't have to be anything right now. Not productive, not impressive, not healed, just present. Because when the self stops shouting, something quieter appears, something kinder, something true. And maybe, just maybe, the real you was never missing, just hidden beneath the performance. The world is loud, not just noisy, loud. Notifications, arguments, breaking news, breaking hearts. You live in a playlist of alerts and opinions, each one demanding your attention like a toddler on espresso. Even when it's quiet, it's not quiet. Your mind fills the gaps with unfinished to-dos, strange hypotheticals, and occasional song lyrics from 2003. And in the middle of all that, you crave peace. Not just silence, but stillness. That rare, sacred pause where time stretches and your breath doesn't feel like a deadline. The thing is, you don't have to run off to a monastery to find it. You don't even have to leave your room. Stillness isn't elsewhere. It's under the noise, waiting. In Buddhism, this stillness has a name, samatha, often translated as tranquility or calm abiding. It's not the goal, it's the doorway. You don't chase it, you settle into it. You stop reacting, you stop reaching, you sit, and something inside you exhales. Historically, Buddhist meditation was divided into two wings, samatha, calm, and vipassana, insight, stillness and seeing. They're not enemies, they're partners. One stills the water, the other reflects the sky. You've felt moments of samatha before, driving alone at dusk, listening to rain, watching someone you love sleep. Your mind didn't leave, it simply got quiet, like a guest who finally sat down. The world didn't stop, you just stopped fighting it. But in modern life, stillness feels illegal. You try to rest and guilt shows up with a spreadsheet. You sit on the couch and your brain starts a PowerPoint on why you should be doing more. Because stillness feels unproductive, and unproductive feels unacceptable. Yet ironically, everything you long for, peace, clarity, soft joy, blooms in stillness. Not in the rush, not in the chase, in the space where nothing demands to be fixed. Here's a quirky visual. In some Japanese temples, monks meditate in zazen posture, so still that spiders occasionally build webs between their hands. No swatting, no panic, just presence. Historians still argue whether this story is exaggerated or literal, but the symbolism remains. When you become still, even the world adapts to your rhythm. Stillness isn't sterile. It's not emptiness in the hollow sense. It's full, rich, dense with subtle life. The buzz of your own heartbeat, the wind nudging a curtain, the truth that you don't need to do anything to belong. But stillness can be scary too, because when you stop moving, all the things you've been avoiding show up. Old sadness, regret, middle school that refuses to die. But here's the magic trick. If you don't flinch, they pass. Emotions are like visitors, loud, awkward, often poorly dressed. But if you let them sit down, they leave faster than if you try to block the door. In one Zen koan, a student asks the master, "How do I enter Zen?" The master replies, "Do you hear the stream outside?" "Yes," the student says. "Enter there," the master answers. Just like that, stillness isn't silent. It's tuned in. You don't escape the world by being still. You re-enter it properly, awake, open, unarmored. Stillness doesn't block reality. It lets it unfold, one petal at a time. Think of your mind like a snow globe. When you're agitated, everything swirls. But if you stop shaking it, if you let things settle, you can finally see what's inside. Clarity doesn't come from forcing thoughts away. It comes from letting them land. And sure, you'll feel resistance. Your legs will tingle. Your mind will narrate nonsense. Did I reply to that email? What if I never find love? Are potatoes fruit? Just breathe, smile at the chaos, and return. You're not failing at stillness if your brain won't shut up. You're practicing. Each return is the muscle building. Each breath is the thread pulling you back to now. In Thailand, some monks meditate in graveyards, not for the aesthetic, but to practice stillness in the face of mortality. Because if you can sit still knowing everything ends, you can sit still anywhere, even in traffic, even in heartbreak, even in your own mind. You don't need a perfect setting. You need intention. You can find stillness while washing your hands, while holding a warm mug, while standing in line. It's not about the noise level around you. It's about the noise level within you. So tonight, allow yourself this. No fixing, no optimizing, no mental gymnastic routines, just a breath. And another. Let the fan hum. Let your muscles unclench. Let your thoughts float by like lazy balloons. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are here. In the space between distractions, stillness waits with open arms. Let it hold you. Let it remind you that being is enough. Let the noise fade, not because it's gone, but because you've stopped dancing to its rhythm. And now let it all dissolve. The story of you, the names you carry, the thoughts that ran like wild deer across your mind, all of it can soften now. No need to hold them so tightly. Not tonight. Feel your breath, not as a pog, but as a rhythm that's been with you since the beginning. Inhale, slow, cool, grounding. Exhale, long, gentle, releasing. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your spine remember it doesn't have to hold up the weight of the world. Notice how even now in the quiet your body speaks. In warmth, in stillness, in the hush between heartbeats. The mind may still stir, whispering its little dramas, dangling distractions like shiny keys. Let it. Smile at it. You don't have to follow. Let it dance. You stay seated in yourself, like a candle that refuses to flicker. You've done enough. You've been enough. You are enough. In this moment, nothing is missing. No roles to perform, no enlightenment to chase. Just the soft miracle of breath, the miracle of being. You'll wake tomorrow into a noisy world. That's okay. Stillness will be waiting, like a friend who never minds the silence. So rest now. Let the day fall away, like old leaves on still water. The path isn't going anywhere, and neither are you. Still, present, home.